Let's see. Hello to Wayne Noel, who joins us in the Facebook live chat, as well as Bill Murphy, pain advocate Bill Murphy. I know I did this yesterday, but I'm going to do it again today. I think yesterday I did it later in the show. So today I'll do it at the top of the show because I want to make sure everyone is aware of this. And I'm going to read again the email that I got from Bill a couple of days ago explaining why this is happening. But the Don't Punish Pain rally, October 16th, that I've been talking about on the show, very, very important. Amy says, thank you. I will check her out. Yes, you'll be glad you did. And I shared her song. I shared her video out on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page earlier. At least I think I did. So the Don't Punish Pain rally, October 16th, it was supposed to be in Concord, New Hampshire. It's now going to be at City Hall Plaza in Boston. And here's why. Here's why it's been moved. So Bill sent me this. There is legislation being proposed in Massachusetts, which would require that for any patient who developed an addiction to a pain med after being prescribed that med, whether they abused it or not, even if it were only one prescription for 10 Vicodin following surgery, the physician who wrote the prescription would be responsible for paying the addicted patient's first 90 days of in-hospital expenses. So anyone who becomes addicted, who claims it was the result of a prescription, even if they did not follow the prescribed directions, a physician would now be responsible for their rehab expenses. Absolutely crazy. Which it is. I mean, that's, so we continue. So our elected lawgivers and overlords, in their ongoing sociopathy, continue to try to put the fear of God into doctors so they're not prescribing the pain meds that are necessary to legitimate patients who need that medication to, just to manage to live, a bearable life. And that's why it's called the Don't Punish Pain rally, because we need to get the government to stop punishing pain patients. And I say it all the time, and I'm going to bang this drum until, this is resolved. But politicians have to look like they're doing something. So they have to look like they're doing something about the quote-unquote opioid crisis. So they make these laws which make it difficult for doctors to prescribe pain medications to their patients, their legitimate patients who need them, for fear of having their own careers destroyed in the process. It happened to my mother. My mother, who broke her back more than 2 decades ago, like 3 decades ago now, actually, in a terrible accident. And she'd been on a very low dose of a pain med. Not an addict, but she'd been on a very low dose of a pain med all this time, just to help her get through the day, just to help her to be able to function, just to help her to be able to work. And then all of a sudden, one day, her doctor says, Lori, I can't prescribe this to you anymore. And, we won't get into what that did to my mother because you think I'm angry now. We start going down that road, I'm going to be really, really unpleasant for the rest of the show. But the point is this. This needs to stop because, see, politicians don't care if what they do actually solves any sort of problem. They just have to look like they're doing something to try to solve the problem, so you'll vote for them. They just have to look like they have to do something that looks good in a campaign ad. Oh, so-and-so voted to restrict doctors from prescribing medications because so-and-so is concerned about this alleged opioid crisis. And then all the lemmings go, oh, great, I'm going to vote for that person. Look what they did. Meanwhile, millions of people are suffering needlessly. Millions of legitimate pain patients suffering needlessly. Because these sociopaths vote for this stuff that looks good in a campaign ad. And we need to stand up to this, and we need to stop it. And we need to let people know what's really happening here and the real consequences of what's happening here. And we've had several guests on the show, including 3 times now, Dr. Red Lawhern, who's amazing. who shows us data that shows that prescribing pain medications to patients is not the issue here. That does not cause this mass addiction. You know, hey, I mean, I hate to break it to you, because this is going to, hearing this is going to rock some of your worlds. You're going to hear me say this and you're going to go, what? How can that be? But here's a little dose of reality for you. Dose, I guess that's a pun in this case. But here's a little dose of reality. You know how there's a heroin problem, not just here, but everywhere across the country? You know how there's all this heroin? Guess what? The reason there's a heroin epidemic is not because of doctors prescribing pain medication to their patients who are suffering from some debilitating illness. The two things are not the same thing. You don't solve the heroin crisis by punishing people who are on pain medication. I know. You're probably hearing me say that going, but Matt, that can't be right. Politicians tell us all the time the way to stop the heroin is to stop doctors from prescribing prescription meds. And then we, like a bunch of idiots, just go, oh, well, that's what the politicians tell us, so that must be right. Like a bunch of lemmings. We don't question anything. We don't question the logic of that. Oh, there's all this heroin on the street. It's because doctors prescribe pain medications to people who are suffering, to people who are dying. Oh, yeah, of course that's the reason. Oh, they're going to vote to restrict doctors from prescribing medications. Oh, great. Oh, they really care about the heroin crisis, even though it sounds like these two things couldn't possibly be directly related. Oh, but they tell us that they are, so we'll continue to vote for them. Wake up. It's two different things. I know, it's hard to imagine. Right? And I know it's hard to imagine that there's politicians who don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. And all they really care about is their careers and what looks good in a campaign ad so they can keep getting reelected and keep getting reelected and continue to perpetuate the war on drugs, which does infinitely more harm than good in this country. I know, hard to believe, right? I mean, how much? I don't mean to be harsh, but seriously, y'all got to pull your heads out of your backsides. If you're voting for someone who has somehow impressed you by supporting doctors limiting prescription meds because you think that is somehow going to get heroin off the streets, you are not thinking. The neurons aren't entirely firing in your head. If you can just believe that and not stop and question, wait a minute, are these two things actually connected? I mean, I guess it shouldn't surprise me or anyone else, because there's millions of people out there who continue to believe that the war on drugs is a rousing success. So, you know, I mean, actually, yes, come to think of it, we do live in a country full of brainwashed lemmings who just believe whatever they're shoveled into their mouths. So, why should I be surprised? I'm not surprised. But this is an issue that has directly affected two people whom I love immensely, who are close to me. So I'm a little angry. So, that said, the Don't Punish Pain rally is now at City Hall Plaza in Boston on October 16th because of what is happening in Massachusetts and what the sociopathic elected lawgivers and overlords in that state are now attempting to do. Just so you know. Wayne Noel says, take a breath, Matt. Hello to Pete Trouble Morse, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Bill Murphy says, thank you for that, Matt. Politicians and the DEA are causing more harm to people suffering in diagnosed, documented, legitimate pain, all in the name of the, quote, opioid crisis, When a recent this is important. This is important what Bill is saying here. When a recent CDC report showed that greater than 90% of all overdoses are caused by illicit fentanyl, pain patients are the low-hanging fruit, so they are the targets. Exactly. 90% of overdoses are caused by illicit fentanyl that you can get on the street. But let's punish the people for that who are legitimate pain patients being prescribed legitimate prescription medication by their care providers. Are you all really okay with that? Y'all think that's just fine? We need to, we can get wrapped up in all kinds of stuff, about Trump, and, I'm as guilty as anyone, right? And impeachment and all this, and that's great to talk about. I spent a lot of time about it on the show. We can talk about the Democratic candidates that are running this, all this stuff. But let's not forget that there are people suffering needlessly right now in this country because of people who only care about themselves, who just need to look like they're doing something. And if you don't get it, ask yourself this question. If you're someone who's ever been on maybe you are currently, or you have been on any medication for an illness, major, minor, whatever, maybe you just had something you had to get an antibiotic for, or maybe something debilitating, whatever it is, maybe not even pain related, whatever it is, how would you feel about the government having a say in what your doctor can and cannot prescribe to you to deal with that illness? And how would you feel if whatever that illness was and whatever that medication was that you needed, you were told flat out, sorry, can't do it. You're just going to have to suffer because there's a new law that says I can't help you. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Easy G.
Easy G, how are you?
Too bad. Like I said, I can understand what you're talking about with pain medications, because my mother's in the hospital. If you heard the morning show this morning,
I heard something about this, Easy G. I heard part of the morning show, but
I got some more information. And my mother's on some pain medication 3 times a day right now, and what happened was she fell down and missed a step.
Oh.
And she broke her nose.
Oh.
And she broke one of her, what the heck? Oh, yeah. Not vertebrae. She broke I can't remember what it was.
Somebody told me that they heard she broke her pelvis?
Oh, yeah, pelvis, yes.
Okay.
She's broken her pelvis before, and both of them.
Oh.
A couple of years ago, in 2014. So I think she's in a little better shape now. She only broke one, so...
Well,
and then she got a black and blue eye. Basically, she kissed the floor.
How old is she?
So I guess they're going to keep her in the hospital for at least another day, because she's been in there since yesterday morning. I think I rushed to the hospital in an ambulance.
How old's your mom, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, she's going to be 77.
Oh, yeah. Falling down falling down and breaking stuff is never a good time, but at 77, she's
broken too many bones over the years, and now this one here. I've forgotten that I know she had broken her back, and
oh, really?
Just by having severe osteoporosis one summer, 5 times in a row. Yeah, and she lost 5 inches of her height too.
Oh my God, really?
But she's in a place where she needs to be. They need to keep an eye on her right now. So.
Yeah. Wow, she's really been through it. Jeez. She broke her back?
Oh, I know. It's awful.
How did she break her back?
Well, she got severe osteoporosis, and just by moving around, her back can just crumble. It's like her mother. God. But thankfully, like her mother, her mother had smoked for 30 years, so her bones were pretty brittle herself.
Okay.
As you know, smoking can do damage to your bones.
It does smoking does all kinds of things. Like people think of lung disease and emphysema. It's a long list of things that smoking can do to you that people don't even think about. Wow, that's terrible, EZG. Oh, wow.
I know, it's awful.
Yeah. No, it is. It is.
I know, it's nothing good about it. That's for sure.
So what's kind of the long-term prognosis there? I mean, she's just got to...
Well, she had to see some physical therapy, I guess, but they're not letting her go home right now because this happened yesterday. She was hoping to go home today, but my father said today that the probably going to be in the hospital for a couple more days.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine. Well, I'm sorry.
Take it day by day. That's all they can do.
I'm sorry to hear that, EZG. I mean, how is her? How's her spirits? How's her attitude about it all? Is she?
Well, she's seen a little better today. Yesterday, she was like crying. So.
Oh yeah,
I spoke to her on the phone. So.
I can imagine.
Yeah, not good.
No. That's rough, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear it too.
Yeah,
I wish I didn't hear it.
How's your how's your dad hold up through all that?
Well, I asked him. I said, "What you doing for food, and stuff like that?" He says, "Well, I'm eating at the cafeteria, so
oh, okay,
getting some extra business."
So he's kind of.
My father can't cook anything. He's always relying on my mother to cook stuff, or he relied on his mother.
Well, he's
lived a sheltered life for almost 80 years.
I can relate to your dad. I can't cook anything either. I think I might have made a frozen pizza once. I think, or did I just?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Or did
I got a quick question there on a lighter note. What happened to the morning show's last half an hour?
Yeah, so Peter White and I were on the phone about that because it was really weird. I was listening to the replay on the way here, and then as I was parking the vehicle, all of a sudden it seemed to just abruptly end, and then some of the radio spots that play were on, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then when I got up here, one of my best of shows was playing instead of Peter's replay. So I texted Peter.
You were pretending to be Mr. Cream.
Yes. So I texted Peter, and then he called me, and he had me do some stuff.
I'll let you go. I got another call coming in.
Oh, all right, EZG. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, so EZG had to abruptly, speaking of abrupt, he had to abruptly leave us. But, yeah, so Peter called me, and he had me do some stuff in the computer that hopefully gets the scheduler back on track. But it was pretty weird. But, yeah, terrible to hear about EZG's mom. Oh, that sucks. At 77, when you're falling down and breaking stuff, it sounds like she's been through a lot too. See, I had no idea because he talks about his dad. He calls him the king of all farts. He talks about his dad a lot on the morning show, but I never really hear him say much about his mom. But it sounds like his mom has been through a lot, like broke her back and lost 5 inches of height. That's incredible. Oh, forgive me. I'm not quite over this I'm not quite. Now I'm thinking about osteoporosis. No, I'm not quite over this bronchitis, but my bronchitis, I'll tell you what, seems minuscule compared to. Well, it is minuscule compared to what EZG's mom is dealing with. Jeez. Let's see. So Amy Hazard King in the Facebook live chat says, "What about medicines dispensed at rehab facilities? Are they taking responsibility? Effed up." She also says, my niece never used pain meds, and she passed from a heroin overdose. The thought process blows my mind. Again, referring to, what we were talking about before EZG's call, that, one has nothing to do with the other. Doctors prescribing pain medications have nothing to do with people overdosing from heroin.